Hi guys, today we're going to be drawing Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. So when you're using your paper, we're going to fold it up, match your lines, and then give a good crease at the bottom. That way you have two sides when you unfold to draw one side Pooh and one side Piglet. And we're also going to turn our paper landscape again. So we're going to start over here. We're going to start with Winnie the Pooh. So the first step is going to be his head. So his head is going to be a medium-sized U shape up here on the top. You don't need too much room up here at the top because his ears are small, but you will need room for his body and then his legs. So I'm going to start up here with this medium-sized upside down U shape. There's the top of his head. Good. Then I'm going to move down to his cheeks. His cheeks are going to be like big C's that curve down. That one's a little bit smaller because that one's a little bit further away. Good. Then we'll come up here and work on his ears. So his ears are going to be little curved. They're going to curve up to the side, back down and touch his head. And then same thing on this side. We'll make this one a little bit wider. There we go, touch his head. Awesome. Then we're going to come up here and work on his two eyes. So I'm going to give him these little marks here. Just a tad bit of a curve. And then we're going to add his eyes on top. So that upside down U shape. Good. You can even color those in. And those are his eyes. And then he also has some eyebrows up here. So I'm going to leave a little space between his eye and his eyebrows, a little bit closer to the top of his head. We'll just give those curves again. There's his two eyebrows. And then we're going to work right here below his eyes, but right in the middle, we're going to give him a nose. So I'm just going to do a little curve here. And then you're going to have a V shape at the bottom, except it's not going to be a point here. It's going to be more of a curve. And there's his nose. You can even color his nose in. Good. And then on top of his nose, he's got that little line straight across, so a good curve up there. That shows that his nose has some depth. It's not flat on his face. And then his mouth, it's another U shape. He's a very happy bear. So I'm going to do the top part here and give a good U. And then the one on the bottom is going to be even lower. So I'm going to start here at the top, and I'm going to give an even deeper U shape, go all the way back up. Very happy. And then we're going to give him those two little curves on the side of his smile that show for his cheeks. And then one last curve inside his mouth is going to be his tongue. Just a little curve there. And there's your Winnie the Pooh face. So our next step is going to be to start with his shirt. So we're going to do a little V shape that comes across, down, and back up. So I'm going to start over here on the side of this line. Good, and then my V up. And I'm just going to go outside. Very close to that line, but I'm not touching it. And then for the collar of his shirt, we're going to give him little hooks around here that go around that line that we just drew. Good. And then we're going to work on his body shape. So it's going to start here, come down, and then we're going to go straight across in the middle, and then back up just a tad. That's going to be his shirt. So I'm going to start here, curve out and down just a little bit. And then I'm going to give a little bit of a wave here on this line. Good. And then I'm just going to go up a tiny bit right there. Good. So I'm going to come over here and work on his arm, the sleeve of his shirt, and then his arm coming out. So I'm going to start here in the middle of this little curve for his collar. And I'm going to go out, give a little hook down. So a little bit of a wave down there, so it looks like his shirt is kind of moving. It's not straight. And then we're going to give a curve down here. closer back to his shirt that he's wearing, but you want to leave a little bit of a space there. And then I'm going to give that little wiggle line up so it looks like the fold of his shirt. Awesome, and same thing over here. This one's going to be a little bit wider. So I'm going to start here with this little hook that we have, and I'm just going to curve outward. That sleeve is a little bit bigger because this arm is a little bit closer to us. And then we're going to come here and we're going to give a little hook up. And then I'm going to start in the middle of that line that I just drew. And I'm going to give a nice good curve over here back towards his collar. So see how I touched my line to his collar right there? So all the way around, and that makes for the shoulder of his second sleeve. And then we're just going to do a little wiggle line to connect those. So it's going to be a little bit slanted to make sure that I get over there by his tip of his sleeve. Good job. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to add the bottom part of his body. So the bottom part of his body is a really big U shape again. It's going to be skinnier at the top and a little bit wider at the bottom. So I'm going to start right here at the edge of his shirt. Curve down. Back up right there to the corner of his shirt. There's his body. And now that we have that, we can work on his arms. So his arms are going to be on his hips with a little bit of curve to his elbow. So this one, I'm just going to do a little curve from his sleeve right there to the corner where his body and his shirt meet. And then same thing for this one, I'm just going to do a little bit curve out. And then I'm going to come very close to his body, but I'm not going to touch those lines because we're going to add him a little hand down there and it's going to look like a wrist. So then we'll do one more little curve here. So I left a little bit of space between that line when I curved it down, then touch his body, and it looks like his wrist is bending on his hip there. Same thing for this one. We're going to give it a little bit of a curve, so a little elbow and then a little bend for his hand and his wrist. So I'm going to start on the outside for this one, and I'm going to leave a little space right here between where I start my line and where the edge of his shirt is. And I'm going to curve inward. And I'm going to stop right before I get to that mark for his body. And then on the inside, so this one's a little bit closer to his body, so it looks like his arm is already touching. So I'm just going to work here and draw a little line that kind of makes his shirt line extend a little bit, but that's going to be his arm. We're going to curve down into his body and touch the side there. And then we're going to come out of his body, back up to his arm, and there's his hand, his wrist again. If you're using a pencil, this is a line that you can erase, so it looks like his arm is on top of his body. If you're not using a pencil, using a marker like me or a crayon, we can just color over it later. And then we're going to add him some legs down here at the bottom. So his legs are going to be, again, that same kind of shape for his body, the U where it's skinnier at the top and it gets wider at the bottom. So it's upside down also. So I'm going to start here at the bottom part of his leg, curve up, and then I'm going to touch right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to kind of slant this line a little bit, but not too much. And then we're going to do a hook for his foot. Touch that corner. All right, now here's the U-shaped leg. So same thing at the bottom, going up, and I'm going to go into his body this time. There's that U shape, get a little bit skinnier down here at his ankle. And then I'm going to go a little bit past my line there. And then same thing, I'm going to add that little hook for his foot. And then if you're using a pencil, this is a line that you can erase because it's going to look like his leg and his body are connected, not two different parts. But there's your Winnie the Pooh. On the other side of our paper, we're going to work on Piglet. So Piglet's a little bit smaller, so he's going to be a little bit shorter, but you want to make sure you have room for his body and his legs too. But I'm going to leave a space up here at the top. So when I start with his head, his is going to be the same kind of shape that we started with Pooh, except his is going to be facing the side of our paper a little bit because he's going to be looking up. So I'm going to do my U shape for Piglet's head. See how it's pretty slanted? And then when I start over here, move over a little bit. When I start over here, I'm gonna start at that tip and I'm gonna curve out and down. And then we'll come here and we'll do a straight line down, so that makes his neck. And then we're gonna work on his ears. So one ear is gonna be right here on the top in the middle here. So I'm gonna just curve up and to the side. And then we can bring that line down. And then I'm gonna leave a little bit of space on the edge of that line and I'm gonna curve it out again. There's one ear. The other ear is gonna be kind of over here. So I'm gonna start this one inside of his body and make a line that you might erase if you're using a pencil. So I just made a little hook there and I'm gonna extend it outside of his body, both sides. This one's gonna come a little bit longer. We'll give that same kind of hook. There's his two ears. So this is the line here of his head that if you're using a pencil, you can erase it. And then I'm gonna work on his nose. His nose is gonna be right here in this little hook shape that we made for his face. So a little curve, I'm gonna come down and connect it up top. So it's kind of like Pooh, but it's a little bit skinnier of a nose. Same thing, you can color that one in. And then we're gonna work on his eyes. So his eyes are gonna be circles, one right kind of in the middle of his head. And then this one's gonna be touching the side over here. Good, and then we're gonna draw the little pupils facing up. So he's kind of looking upward. And then for his nose shape, we're gonna give him a little curve right here on the bottom of this eye, all the way to the tip of his nose. That makes it look like he's got some depth on his nose. And then he also has eyebrows. This one's a little bit further away, so smaller. This one's a little bit closer to us, so it can be bigger. And then Piglet is happy too, but his mouth is usually closed. So I'm gonna start right here in the middle of his nose, curve down and out, and then give him that same little cheek mark. So there's your Piglet head. We're gonna go ahead and close off these two lines here. And then we're gonna draw his body. So we're gonna draw part of his body without his arms, and his is gonna be very skinny, like his neck, and it's gonna curve down and get wider at the bottom and then back up to skinny. So I'm gonna start here, curve down. I've kind of got a little backwards S shape, and then we're gonna curve down, make it a little bit flat, and back up towards his body to his neck. So you can see my body is a little bit skinnier than the 2 points of my Piglet neck. That way we can add his arms later. So inside of his shirt here, he's got some stripes. So we're gonna go ahead and add the stripes all the way across. And then one more. There you go. Now we'll come up and work on his arms. So his arms are gonna be behind his back because he usually feels a little bit more timid. So I'm gonna start here on the curve of his neck, come straight out, curve down to his body. There's one arm. And then the same one, but this one's gonna be further away, so the curve is gonna be smaller. I'm gonna start here by his neck, curve down. There's his two arms. And the last step is gonna be his legs. Move it down a little bit. His legs are gonna come out like that. So it looks like he's got a knee. And then we're gonna curve this line around and give a hook for his foot. And then a little curve in the middle here, all the way up to his body. So you got one foot. And then this one's gonna be bent a little bit more. So we're gonna come down with that same little curve, but I'm gonna be going the other direction. There we go. And then I'm gonna start down here with his foot. I'm gonna curve down, little curve. And then it's a little bit more of a flat line down here. And then I'm gonna curve back up and inward. So it kind of looks like he's got a knee bend and an ankle bend down there. And I'm going to touch these two lines together. And then we're going to add these couple little lines down here that make it look more like his foot is bending. And there's your Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. Next step is to color. You guys did a wonderful job. Thank you for drawing with me today.